I can't even count the number of ATV and side-by-side new model intros I've attended over the past 20 years I've been working in this industry. It's got to be pushing 100 at least.
And that's just the ones that you've attended. I've gone to quite a few myself, and I'm close on your heels. But I'd say that after producing so many episodes that seem so similar in this respect, it's time for us to make a bit of a change.
So today, instead of covering 3 new models in the traditional way, we're just going to sit down, the two of us, and talk about them, discuss them right here, right now.
And they are the Textron Wildcat XX, the Polaris Rzr RS1, and the Polaris Rzr Turbo S.
So to get started, let's just have a quick chat about the 3 vehicles themselves and what makes them similar. Why are they even interesting right now, and why are they exciting?
Yeah, and I think probably sportiness, as I alluded to earlier, is what really draws all 3 of these together. They sort of branch out into their own unique areas, whether it be width, driver capacity, or engine size.
That's right. You've got the Wildcat XX, which is Textron Off Road's top-of-the-line high-performance model, but it's not turbocharged, naturally aspirated. And then you've got the Polaris Rzr XP Turbo S, which is 72 inches wide, turbocharged, all new from the ground up.
Electronic shocks, the whole bit. It's got everything. Third is sort of the unique one that nobody really knows where it fits, but that's the Rzr RS1. That's a 1-seat, 64-inch wide, big travel buggy, but it's no longer, it's a side-by-self. It's just you in there. But it's not an ace. It's in the Rzr category.
Yeah. You rode the RS1. You were there at the intro. Why don't you tell me what it's all about?
Honestly, when we first showed up and I saw it, I thought, what the heck is this thing besides just a 1-seat Rzr XP 1000? And then they told us it's a 1-seat Rzr XP 1000. So it's essentially based off the XP 1K. It uses almost identical parts, which is really cool. However, they do have some new things, like the rad is put up high behind the driver and the air intake and all those types of things. But same suspension travel, 7-inch shorter wheelbase.
Okay.
And then I believe there's about a 1/2-inch ground clearance difference.
Interesting.
But suspension travel stays the same. It gives you a totally different rider experience because you're just one person in there. So when you're going around a corner, because you're sitting in the middle of the vehicle, it gives you a lot less of that kind of roll feeling. You know, when you pitch into a right-hand corner, it feels great in a side-by-side because you've got all that distance. But when you go left, sometimes you're kind of thinking, okay, am I going to lift? Am I going to raise the inside tires?
So it centralizes your mass like crazy into the middle of the vehicle.
And when you do rail the thing, honestly, it's just a cool feeling because it's so sporty and so well suspended. It would be like going from a regular Polaris Rzr 900 to a turbo when you go from the Ace XC to a Rzr RS1.
Well, the Ace XC was a pretty impressive vehicle, and I did the test on that one, and I was blown away. The Ace is a great concept. It was really fun, and all of the benefits of the RS1 were there, but obviously the RS1 is like a whole nother level.
The Ace takes a sportsman chassis and puts a single in-cockpit driver on board. The RS1 takes a 2-person side-by-side, strips it away, and goes to a single person on board, which gives you all of that great benefit of huge suspension for multi-riders and multi-passenger, and wraps it up with just one person. To me, it's hard to wrap my head around exactly where that fits and how well it'll be adopted and how many people will jump on board. But after spending time in it, honestly, I got out and I was giggly. I was like just excited because of how quick you could rail it through corners and how much more aggressive it was and how much more in control you felt, especially going through tight woods at high speed. You can see both wheels, so you're literally picking through the trees just like you would on an ATV. So it gives you that ATV razor sharp performance in a Rzr full 64-inch wide vehicle, which is something that we've never had before. So it's pretty cool. Okay, so switching gears, or maybe I'll say adding a passenger, we go to Textron Off Road's Wildcat XX.
One of the most important things about this vehicle is that it's Textron Off Road's first sport side-by-side.
Yeah.
People have been dying, our viewers have been dying for a new high-performance side-by-side from Textron Off Road. So I think that's a really important thing. The truth is, when this thing was released, there was a lot of people who were, I'm gonna say, disappointed because they expected a turbo. But the reality about this vehicle is that when you look at it in its context, in the class that it competes in, it's not disappointing. It's very impressive.
And they're not pushing this against the turbo vehicles. And that's the one thing that we all need to look at. It's 64 inches wide and 125 horse naturally aspirated, which makes it the highest horsepower side-by-side in the 64-inch category.
It's not just a Wildcat with new plastic and some new suspension bits. This is a completely new, ground-up, 100% new parts vehicle, and my initial impression of it was very good. This thing is an impressive ride.
It runs 18 inches of travel all the way around. It runs 15-inch rims with, is it 30-inch tires?
30-inch tires.
And it runs a square tire setup, so it's 30 by 10 on all 4 corners, which I really like because off-road, it makes a lot of sense. And if you
carry
run a
one
fit
spare,
it fits anywhere.
Yep. Yeah. Another interesting thing about this vehicle is that this is the YXZ motor. This is the Yamaha 3-cylinder motor that's in this vehicle, but it puts out 125 horsepower with a CVT.
Right.
So, I mean, it kind of baffles your mind when you think about Yamaha with their vehicle and it being naturally aspirated. I think it's 115 horsepower with a manual transmission. It's just really neat that that motor has found its way into this vehicle. Having some time with Robbie Gordon riding in this vehicle, he had a huge hand in building it, designing it. He really did have a lot of input. It's not just a tagline or a marketing thing. And it really shows in terms of durability, ease of maintenance, replaceable parts were all his input because he's a desert racer. He knows how important maintenance is and being able to get to those parts, replacing broken parts easily and quickly. So there are a lot of things about this vehicle that are very much inspired by a professional level championship winning desert racer, and they're going to benefit the average consumer.
We can all expect there's got to be a 4-seat version of this, and then there must be a turbo with 72 inches coming.
It only makes sense. I mean, they had a Wildcat 4, so you know that they know that there's a 4-seat market that they have to address. And I gotta think that a turbo, I mean, they have turbo snowmobiles. They know that market, they know those customers. It's gotta be on the table, and I think probably it won't be too long before we see something like that.
So the third vehicle that we wanted to talk about is the Polaris Rzr Turbo S.
It's Rzr
XP
Turbo S.
XP Turbo. We're getting into long acronyms nowadays, but it's a pretty unique vehicle in itself because it's the next generation of Polaris Rzr. It's what we can expect moving forwards and what they're going to build all of their cool performance chassis
In
off.
reality, too, it's kind of the next generation side-by-side. I think that this thing is going to be a bit of a game changer.
Yeah, 3-inch Fox podium live valve shocks in the back, 2.5 up front. I mean, these things are, I think a Ford Raptor comes with 2.5-inch body shocks. This has got larger ones on the rear.
With more technology behind them, too.
Way more technology,
with Ride Command, I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, live valve technology, like I did the test ride on the Dynamics, all of that is in this vehicle. And that alone is enough to set something completely apart from the rest. But then you add in all of this new stuff. So I believe that this vehicle has 21 inches of wheel travel in the rear, 19 up front, but they claim the usable travel is 24.8
inches or something like that. But like a Wildcat, this is a new ground up. This is a new build. There are almost 0 parts that are interchangeable between the old XP Turbo and this vehicle. But I think what's interesting is that the vehicle dimensions are all bigger, but it looks smaller. Like it actually looks like you're tighter in the cockpit, but you're not. There's more room in the cockpit.
Well, and you got those beautiful new seats, 4-point harnesses from Sparco and a Sparco steering wheel. You got those cool, are they LED? The lights up front that kind of give it that new gen truck feel. It's just all these little add-ons, LED lights.
The roll cage is actually almost a race-ready roll cage. In fact, I think it probably is. It's got the curved upper bar on it, which is the same thing the Wildcat XX has got a roll cage that is race-ready. You don't have to change it. It is a side-by-side that no longer requires a new cage if you want to go and push the crap out of it. You can just do it.
32-inch tires, like 32.
These are the same size wheels that come on a lot of different pickup trucks. And obviously, if you've got 32-inch wheels, you're going to need a differential that can handle that extra weight. And Polaris has added a completely new differential. It's 2 times larger. It has what they say is 3 times higher impact strength than the current Rzr. It's basically just crazy heavy duty to handle these monster tires.
The interior of it looks a lot like the old Rzr, but they've updated a whole lot of things. So all of the touch points and all of the interior, those things are all new, all updated, and that's pretty cool because the Rzr has needed an update in that area.
Yeah, that is true. The Rzr, even though the XP Turbo was newer, it was still just the same old. And this one is finally a new Rzr model that is truly new. The dynamic system, it is everything you want it to be and then a whole lot more, and it works exactly as it's advertised. And when you combine it with that level of travel, that wide, 72 inches wide, and those tires, it's just an unbelievable vehicle to drive. It's really interesting sitting down to talk about these 3 vehicles and doing this in a little bit of a different format. I hope everybody enjoyed it. I think that these 3 vehicles are what the market, what the industry was waiting for in some cases, what it needed in some cases, and what it didn't even know it wanted in some cases. And I think that makes them very unique and very exciting.
Yeah, and we'll be bringing tests of all of these vehicles to the show, so stay tuned and you can see us beat on these things, slay on them, and find out if they're as good as the companies who build them think they are and as we think they are. Thanks for watching this Dirt Trax segment. Make sure you hit the subscribe button where you can watch pretty much anything related to ATV and side-by-sides.